So previously I made a video talking about characters to prioritize for an individual account, and I briefly went over, as you can see right here, the list that we currently have of team options that you are capable of running and characters that can fit into these each and individual team compositions. Obviously there's going to be overlap with certain characters, but today what I want to talk about is proper team building 101. And what exactly does that mean and what does that look like? Well, this is focused mainly on returning players who are a little lost on current team options for characters and DPS options, and for newer players. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a brief overview talk about ideally what you would want, and then we'll center it down around two individual characters whom I think would work as viable options in a discussion, one being somewhat restricted, whereas the other character being somewhat pretty loose on who you can kind of use for their individual team. So obviously for team compositions, right, you have a couple different variations, and I'm not talking like a meta team or like these specific teams. What I'm talking about is you can run either a sub DPS team, you could run a hyper carry DPS team, you could run different various versions of this. Obviously you have the hyper carry option, and like if, for example, right, a follow-up option is the main DPS would actually be Ashvale, whereas like a sub DPS option could be either someone like Mortonix Blade or Fei Xiao, depending on who you have, right? Obviously that all depends on the current available characters you currently have. You also have other options like a dot team, and this team doesn't necessarily revolve around the individual character doing all the damage, follows up with the damage over time, hence DOT, that the enemies receive. And it's just multiple different scenarios and structures for an individual team. For you to get the absolute most out of that, what you are going to need to do is you are going to need to focus on what you want to build. And for this option, we are going to focus on two individual characters. Like I said, one that is pretty restricted, whereas the other character is going to be pretty easy to talk about, and that is obvious. It's not going to be Himiko, surprisingly. It's actually going to be SW9s, and it's going to be Phainon. So what exactly do I mean by restrictive? Well, if we look at Silver Wolf level 9s, we can see some key points right here just in the absolute front. First is her typing, which is going to be imaginary. And the second more important part is the path that she is going to be following, that is of the elation. Now, the key thing with Silver Wolf level 9s is that she wants a lot, and I mean a lot, of punchline. And punchline gets accumulated through elation characters in order to activate an aha instance, which is a extra turn of damage that the characters are capable of doing who follow the path of elation. And so what does that mean? That means that Silver Wolf level 9s wants characters on the elation path in order to gain the hidden MMR, which will gain the same amount as much as you gain for the punchline. And when you are able to get up to 60 points of hidden MMR, Silver Wolf will then transform into her enhanced state, allowing for more damage. And so by that function, right, that you want punchline in order to gain hidden MMR, in order to gain into her enhanced form, which that's where all of her damage is locked behind. So as you can see right here, I have some elation characters, but not all of them necessarily are going to be focused on Silver Wolf level 9s. Sparksy is a good character because she allows for consuming all your skill points, and by doing so will grant the same amount of punchline, the same amount of hidden MMR that you are going to be able to use for Silver Wolf level 9s. Yao Guang is going to be able to allow for an extra instance of aha, and so by doing so allows for Silver Wolf to increase her own hidden MMR, and just additional damage done by being able to ignore enemies resistance and all of that through through Yao Guang. You have that. You also have the Elation MC, who upon ultimate is allowed to select a specific teammate in order for them to activate their aha instance skill. If you are in the enhanced form, that means more damage. If not, with level 9s, then that allows for you to gain more hidden MMR for her. So as you can see, a very restrictive character because she follows a relatively new path and the way her own individual mechanics work. The other character is Phainon. Now, why is Phainon more not necessarily free to play friendly, but more friendly in terms of character usage? Well, he's a destruction hyper carry unit. He accumulates core flames upon his skill, and whenever he gets targeted for ally skills or for attacks, and once you reach up to a certain amount, he's able to enter into his Kazlana state, allowing for more overall damage. That's it, and by doing so, he's the only character for you available that you can use until he exits out of the state or loses HP and activates his burst, and then goes back and everybody else is available. So a character such as this, as you can see right here, is somebody who wants supports. Sarija is good for that. She allows for another instance of the skill to be used from Phainon, so that allows for more overall damage. You can also use characters such as, if I can find them, unless they're already up here, like Sparkle, or even somebody like Sunday, because they allow for more crit damage increase, crit rate increase, energy, and targeting him for an ability allows for not only their individual skills to boost his overall damage and for a certain amount of turns, but it allows for him to increase his core flame capabilities. And it's not just 5-star characters, right? It is also 4-star characters like Ting Yun you can use in that slot. And just, if I can, like Bronya is also like a good option, who is a standard banner character. Looking right here, I can't really see any other characters. I'm sure I'll think of them when I'm going over it, but it allows for more overall damage for Phainon, and that is the biggest key for him. And there's some other characters who are very similar to that aspect, where they want more overall damage, and so that requires characters who are supporting capable to allow for that. You can also have Huaho right here to increase his attack and increase his speed, especially if you have your E1. But those are two instances of characters who's restrictive compared to a character who is not really restrictive. You can also put Donghung PT right here too to provide sustainability with the shield while also boosting attack, and by doing so he is targeting the Phainon, so that allows for another core flame to be stacked on him. So as you can see, there are a multitude of different team compositions that you can obviously run, and in that sense each individual main DPS character, or even sub DPS character for that matter, requires certain key components that you need to look at with their individual kit. Now, are they going to somewhat be restrictive, like Silverwolf level 9s, or heck, even Acheron wanting just nihility characters for the most part? Yeah, absolutely. But there are going to be options that are going to be less restrictive and allows for more freedom of usage of characters that you currently have. Now, is there going to be an optimal playstyle for the individual characters? Yeah, absolutely. It's just all the main teams. There is definitely going to be a focus on optimizing the team, but there are going to be substitute options for that individual character. And then, you know, you got vertical investment, all that stuff, but that's a separate video that is already out, thankfully, with the Eidolons and the light cones. But hopefully that helps, and I will see you all within the next video.